Commissioner Rozelle ready at the podium now to make the first selection of draft number 1. Joe Ryan of the NFL offices beginning to come over. He's got to turn the microphone on before you can hear the commissioner. So while there are multi-million-dollar operations waiting, they have to wait for a 15-cent mic switch.
The 46th Annual National Football League Selection Meeting is now in session. First choice, first round, belongs to the New Orleans Saints. Saints first up.
There's the card which will hold with it the first pick of this 1981 draft. Each team has 15 minutes to make their selection.
New Orleans Saints take as the first player the 46th Annual Draft, running back George Rogers of South Carolina. Next up, the New York Giants.
The clock will recycle, and coming in right in front of us is George Rogers. You'll be seeing him momentarily onto your screen. The running back, the Heisman Trophy winner from South Carolina, George
The New York
Rogers.
Giants, first round selection, Lawrence Taylor, linebacker, North Carolina.
There you have pick number 1 and pick number 2, and here you have George Rogers coming to the podium.
Next up, New York Jets. This time I would like to introduce the first player selected in the draft, George Rogers.
I don't really know what to say, you know, under all of the circumstances. I'm too excited really to say anything. New Orleans chose me, and I'm sure going to give my best, and that's 100% every time I go out on the field. And I'd like to thank everybody here for you know, for the hospitality that they gave me so far. In New Orleans, I'm coming.
There you have George Rogers, the first pick of this 1981 draft, the man who scored 186 points, rushed for 31 touchdowns, 22 straight games over 100 yards. He is the number 1 pick in draft 1981 here from New York. The number 2 pick, Lawrence Taylor. So far, Paul Zimmerman, things have gone as expected.
Yeah, but I think I'm headed for a downer because I had L.A. trading for the Jets there pick for McNeil. I think McNeil will be the pick, but it looks like the trade hasn't been made.
Sal Marciano?
Everything is going along smoothly except for Commissioner Rozelle. He was stuck in an elevator about a half hour ago. Then his PA system didn't work. It took the Saints and then the Giants only a matter of seconds to make their choices. And we have
George Rogers will be available.
George Rogers still on the podium with Commissioner Rozelle posing for pictures. The Jets are next, and as everybody keeps saying, the trades didn't come.
You know, there's suspicion that Al Davis got to that elevator. I don't know what
Okay, Paul, we've had 2 picks. Pick number 3, let's go to the commissioner.
The New York Jets, first round selection. UCLA running back, Freeman McNeil.
The Jets did what was rumored for the last couple of days. They go with McNeil. There will be no Rams trade up, at least at the number 3
in
position.
the first round, the Seattle Seahawks.
Okay, the rumors on Seattle. Hugh Green has been someone that Jack Patera has coveted. Of course, last year they took another Green, Jacob Green, the great defensive end. Patera himself was a great linebacker. Some indications are that maybe they would go with Green and make him into a linebacker. Rogers has gone number 1 to the Saints. Number 2, Lawrence Taylor, the linebacker, to the Giants. Number 3, Freeman McNeil to the Jets. You heard the crowd reaction upstairs. Leandra Riley is upstairs. Of course, you know that this is a giant jet-packed house because the draft is held in New York City. Leandra, what's the reaction?
Well, the reaction up here has been that they wanted Hugh Green chosen, but with me is John Capolitano. John, who are you a fan of?
Nobody. I absolutely have no professional team that's a favorite of mine whatsoever.
Why are you at the draft then?
Because I am a college football fan, and I study it, and I do this every year, and I try to see how well I do against the professional scouts.
All right, then after the players graduate, they're selected in the draft. What happens to your interest in football?
Well, I try to follow some of the players, you know, to see how well they do, but not on a, I don't go crazy watching.
Repeat selection.
Okay, let's go back to the floor.
New York Jets first round choice, Freeman McNeil, running back, UCLA.
There you have it, the commissioner just reaffirming that pick by the Jets. Some Jets fans wishing that they could have taken it back and made another one. That tells you something about the Jets, Al, because at the end of the season, Clark Gaines limped through a mini drill a little while ago, a couple of weeks ago. He's not 100%. Harper, there are indications that he is not 100%. So they went with the one thing they thought they needed offensively, some speed outside. McNeil, some people have regarded as even possibly a better potential running back than George Rogers.
Still, it must have been an agonizing decision for Walt Michaels and the staff to make because of the obvious deficiencies on defense in the Jets. And Walt, of course, is a defensive-oriented coach. And yet, his defensive teams have been awful. Last year, the Jets ranked 21st among the 28 teams in yardage allowed and 25th amongst the 28 teams in points allowed. They're obviously porous. They obviously need help on defense, but they had to get a running back to complement the passing game. And for Walt Michaels in his 5th year, a very big decision, perhaps the biggest decision of his coaching career.
Also, we should tell you that Joe Gardy is the new defensive coordinator for the Jets. He is regarded as strong in Michael's organization as well. So there is a feeling that they wanted defense, but they end up going for McNeil. Over at Mike Minucci's, Chris Berman is there, and Chris was just with Hickey and company a couple of days ago. How do you read this one, Chris?
Still here with Frank Ross and Jack Dolphin. I want to make a correction that Jack is the second commissioner of the ABA, not the first. George Mikan was a little bit bigger. I'll tell you, the frowns on some people's faces here in Minucci's for the offensive pick of the Jets are all around. Let me ask you this, Jack. Everything has gone pretty much as planned right away. That doesn't happen most of the time with the first few picks.
Oh, it happens quite seldom because if New Orleans had gone with somebody else, it changes everybody's plans. This is like as professional as like working on the stock exchange floor. You know, you don't know what to expect. It's one of the most exciting moments in American sports.
And then all of a sudden, all the teams use their time clock.
Right. That'll happen before the day's over.
All right. Let's go back right now to the draft center at the Sheraton.
Thank you very much, Chris. We are standing by for pick number 4, which will be the Seattle Seahawks. Indications have been that possibly, if Hugh Green was available, they would go with Green. We will see shortly if that is the case. Each team in the first 2 rounds gets 15 minutes between selections. Following that, it is 5 minutes per selection. With a fellow who is no stranger to the story of the draft because he's a broadcaster as well as an all-pro punter. Sam Rosen is here with Dave Jennings of the Giants. Sam.
Thank you, George. And Dave Jennings, the New York Giants, number 2 pick in the draft overall, go for a linebacker, Lawrence Taylor. What are your thoughts about that pick?
Well, there's really no surprise there. It's been written for, so many weeks. That's the guy we were after. I thought something might happen with that first pick with New Orleans. Maybe a little trade, because I know Dallas was interested, and maybe a few other teams, but really no surprises. And from what I understand, the coaches I've talked with and the scouts, Taylor's, it could be the best football player, pure football player in the draft, so it's got to help us. And, you get a pick like that, it's just really thrilling.
Now, he's a talented player, but the Giants seem to be deep in linebackers, and it's a team that didn't score all that many points last season. There was a lot of talk, why not go for offense?
Well, that's true, but if you remember in our last game against Oakland, we didn't have any of our linebackers who start for us, weren't even playing in the game. So we had a lot of injuries last year, and he is really going to help us. Offensively, I guess the Giants feel we can get a good running back or a tight end on the 2nd and 3rd rounds, and that's what we're going to look forward to in the next hour or two.
There was some controversy earlier this week that some of the linebackers, some of the defensive players might walk out.
Well, I think that's just talk, and I really believe if they decided to walk, Coach Perkins would open the door for them and give them plain fare wherever they're going. I think it was just talk, and I don't really think there was a lot to the talk.
Thank you, Dave Jennings.
Sam, let me ask you one question before Dave gets away.
Yes,
how about
George?
his contract? He's been going back and forth for the last year on a possible contract.
What about your contract? They're talking about your contract with the Giants. Are things all settled with you?
All settled as of a couple of months ago, and I'm looking forward to about 20 more years with the Giants.
Okay, and he just bought a house in Upper Saddle River, New Jersey, closer to Giants Stadium, so he'll be close to the Giants, within punting distance of Giants Stadium.
With the wind in my back, yes.
Back to you, George.
Thanks, Sam. Bill Parcells, the new defensive coordinator of the Giants. So the indications are they're going to that 3-4 defense. They want the linebackers, and they feel Taylor can go inside or outside in that 3-4 setup. A significant pick by the Giants. Lawrence Taylor, the great linebacker, regarded as the premier linebacker. They put him on a par with Hugh Green. The only difference is he's about 20 pounds heavier and a little bit bigger. That's why Taylor went before Hugh Green. Picking 4th in the National Football League 81 draft, had taken Ken Easley, the defensive back from the University of California at Los Angeles. Next up, the St. Louis Cardinals. As you might imagine, Paul Zimmerman, defensive backs are a premium in this draft. What do you think St. Louis will go to?
Running ladder, Hugh Green, but depends on how much they want Campbell. When I talked to them, they said they wanted defense first, Lauder Green. But don't be surprised if Campbell slips in there.
St. Louis Cardinals 5-11 last year. They've had 6 coaches during the course of the last 11 years. That tells you something about their draft history as well. Greg Gumbel has a wrap-up on it for us from our broadcast center.
Taking care of business. Another reason why when American business hits the road, American business stops at Hilton. America's business address.
There's the scene set, 7 minutes and counting for the St. Louis Cardinals first-round pick. If you are just joining us, the Saints have taken George Rogers. You expected that. The Giants have taken Lawrence Taylor. You expected that. The Jets did not trade their pick. They picked Freeman McNeil of the University of California at Los Angeles. And Seattle picked Kenny Easley. There you see the fans upstairs in the gallery.
Thank you, George. I'm here with Hub Arkush, the publisher of Pro Football Weekly. And Hub, 4 picks have been made thus far. What do you think?
Well, no real surprises. Possibly Kenny Easley going to Seattle, but they were looking for defensive help. They went to the secondary instead of on the line is all.
A matter of opinion. Let's go to Commissioner Rozelle.
Stand by. Here's the commissioner. You see the clock run down with 21 seconds. That's the St. Louis Cardinals table. The Packers follow the Cardinals. If they do not hit it within that clock time, the Packers will get the challenge. Unless the card has been handed to one of the commissioner's representatives.
St. Louis selects.
Okay.
First round choice. E.J. Jr., linebacker, Alabama.
E.J. Jr., Esther James Jr. III.
Green Bay Packers.
That card again, the card has to be handed in prior to that minute mark. Let's go back up to Commissioner Pete Rozelle.
Green Bay Packers, first round choice. California quarterback Rich Campbell. Next up, Tampa Bay.
There's the first quarterback selected in this 1981 NFL draft. Rich Campbell, the quarterback from the University of California at Berkeley. Campbell, as you know, set records for pass completion percentage, 70% in a season, over 60%, 64% for his career. The big question mark on Rich Campbell was his knee. He had ligament surgery last year, did not last the season, but according to all the statistics and all the timings that they've had with him, he's 100%. And that's why they rank him ahead of Neil Lomax from a quarterback standpoint.
I wonder if this choice really will satisfy the fans in Green Bay. It seems to be a public kind of pick. We have a coach who was, of course, a great quarterback who was 1 year remaining on his contract. And I guess the fans really can't knock this choice, and you can't knock the Packers for picking Campbell because they have 2 quarterbacks who are now in their 30s.
We don't know what the fans in Green Bay. Hold on, here we go, Tampa Bay.
First round choice, Hugh Green, linebacker, Pittsburgh. Next up, San Francisco 49ers.
So Hugh Green has gone to Tampa Bay. There is your linebacker. We mentioned that Rich Campbell went to Green Bay, the number 6 collection.
And a second round draft choice in this draft, which is the last pick in the second round that the Rams previously acquired from Oakland. So they trade Brzezinski and their pick, which is the last choice in the second round, to the Miami Dolphins in return for 3 draft choices. The Dolphins' second and third picks in this draft, and a second round pick in 1982, next year's draft, that the Dolphins previously acquired from Tampa Bay. All right, I'll review that for you. Rams trade linebacker Bob Brudzinski and a second-round choice in this draft, which is the last pick in the second round the Rams have previously acquired from Oakland, to the Miami Dolphins in return for 3 choices: the Dolphins' second and third picks in this draft, and a second-round choice in 1982 the Dolphins previously acquired from Tampa Bay.
Yeah, there you have it. That's Commissioner Pete Rozelle. And as we were coming back, we didn't want to interrupt. 2 trades announced to recap. Neither one of them have to do with this first round, but both of them rather important because they involve significant names. Joe Washington from Baltimore to the Redskins. Washington hopefully wants to put their running back situation back in check. It was horrendous last year. Joe Theismann had nothing to do with anyone behind him simply because he had no running power, no running game at all behind him. So they hope to put that back together again. And as far as Brzezinski is concerned, Paul Zimmerman, there's been no secret. Brzezinski's been on the shopping block all week long, peddled to anybody who would talk about possible moving up in the draft.
I sort of figured Buffalo would be the team because I knew they were very tight, and Chuck Knox liked Brzezinski from his LA days. Miami was a sort of outside possibility. Everybody said no. Shula doesn't like people who walk out of camp, but I guess he does.
I guess the loss of John Riggins last year certainly was devastating to Washington. I don't know that Joe Washington can remedy that, but he can at least add some offense to that backfield.
Well, the thing that Riggins did so well, and what Washington also does so well, is running that flare route out of the backfield. I mean, they're terrific pass receiving targets. I mean, I saw a game where Washington caught 13 balls. That's going to be a real shot in the arm for that dump-off passing game.
Back to the commissioner.
Defensive back, Ronnie Lott, USC. The next choice in the first round belongs to the Los Angeles Rams, previously acquired from Washington Redskins.
There you have it. Ronnie Lott of the Trojans, taken by San Francisco. He'll stay on the West Coast. Somewhat of a surprise, Paul Zimmerman.
2 teams I know like him very much, Miami and Oakland. There were others, but I think he's one of these guys that came up late, like E.J. Jr. The more they thought about him, the more they looked at his stats, the more late exams they gave him, the higher he got, maybe even up to the Hugh Green level. 2 months ago, you wouldn't have heard that, but he was a late bloomer.
Okay, there you have it. That's the pick for the Los Angeles Rams. Mel Owens, a linebacker out of Michigan. And with the #1 selection in this 1981 National Football League draft, Sal Marciano is with George Rogers. Sal?
Thank you very much. Earl's, is one of my favorites. I look up to guys like Earl. It's a pretty good feeling, be coached up under one of the traditional coaches, that's been in the game for a real long time.
2 small matters, perhaps not small, perhaps significant. You had a wrist injury this past season. How did that come along?
You mean how it's come along now? It's come along fine, Most of the time I hurt my wrist because I fall on the ground and try to catch my balance. And if I tape them up real good, they don't hardly get hurt up most of the time.
The other factor I want to talk about is the synthetic turf in the Superdome. How do you feel about playing on that?
I like playing on the turf. It kind of like speeds the game up. I play on AstroTurf in Columbia, so maybe it's a different.
Cincinnati on the first round, wide receiver David Verser from Kansas.
George,
Chicago Bears are up.
The man you see right there is Don Weiss, who is the assistant to the commissioner. He just announced that Cincinnati has taken David Verser, the wide receiver out of Kansas. He has been regarded as one of the foremost wide receivers in a draft where there are a number of wide receivers that are ranked near the top. Verser has been ranked near the top from the very beginning. Now, next up, the Cincinnati Bengals. Let's take a look and see how they match up. Greg Gumbel takes a look at their history in the draft.
The Cincinnati Bengals are a tough nut to crack. They are hard to understand. The Bengals have done it the way it's supposed to be done, through the draft, yet the results aren't showing on the field. Look at the Bengals' recent draft history. It is amazing. 19 of their 22 starters have come through the draft the last 6 years. You see stats like that and you figure Cincy should be challenging in the AFC Central. But
Colts, first round selection.
Don't run away.
Baltimore picks Randy McMillan, University of Pittsburgh running back.
This is no good.
Running back Randy McMillan taken
Next up, Miami Dolphins.
as the number 12 pick, as you indicated, Paul Zimmerman. So far, we've been pretty much on the money here with Paul Zimmerman. We've also been pretty much on the money back in Bristol, the way we've been evaluating as well. Randy McMillan taking number 12 for Baltimore from Pittsburgh, the running back. Now, next up, the Miami Dolphins from a draft standpoint. Greg Gumbel, as we've told you, has been putting together an evaluation of the teams as they have done during the course of the last couple of years from a draft standpoint, and we'll be taking a look at that if time allows when we return. But first, let's take a break as we continue ESPN's coverage of the 1981 National Football League player draft. The clock winds down 14 minutes plus for the Miami Dolphins pick.
National Football League dips into collegiate talent every year.
I think Pete Rozelle should win a Tony Award, an Emmy Award, and an Oscar Award for creating the most overrated, over-propagandized annual event in American sport. He's got to be accredited as a marketing genius. I think it's simply wonderful the way the print medium joins in as the principal tub thumpers of this nothing event. And I also think it's remarkable that the fans up in the galleries can be so sold and so utterly naive and unknowledgeable. The record of the annual draft speaks for itself. Let's take last year. Rams took Johnson, Texas, defensive back, first round. Almost destroyed their team. Rebellion, walkouts. They succeeded in losing their first two games to the inferior Detroit and Tampa Bay teams. The Jets, Lamb Jones, bust. The Giants, Haynes, defensive back, bust. As a matter of fact, as one reviews the history of the annual draft and what the New York teams have done, nothing has helped them less. I have in mind the memorable Rocky Thompson for the Giants. I suggest, since Burgess Owens, once a #1 draft choice with the Jets, and Otis McKinney, once a #2 draft choice with the Giants, since they made it and made it big with the Oakland Raiders, I suggest all teams get down to the nub of the matter. They shouldn't draft players. They should draft Al Davis.
This draft actually is supposed to help teams that don't win very much, but isn't it in fact the case that the rich teams get richer through trades and improving their positions?
Not the rich teams, the teams with the best organizations. The Oakland Raiders, a team of reclamation projects, as I've already indicated, because of Al Davis. The Rams will stay good because Klosterman has stockpiled so many draft choices through the years that he's got an abundance of talent. The Cowboys will always be good because of Gil Brandt and Tex Schramm. The Patriots will be consistently good because of Bucko Kilroy and now Dick Steinberg. The Redskins will get better because of Bobby Beathard. It lies in organization, and you know that, Sal. You've been around a long time. You're my guy.
One other question, and that is, what do you think is the significance of the CFL signing Ferragamo? Not to the teams, but I'm talking about the two leagues.
I don't think there is any significance. I think it's a terrible mistake by Ferragamo. I think the 00 number he wears is reflective of his mentality. He will die in Canada. He has no mobility, and a quarterback without mobility in Canada is really subject to physical assault. The acquisition of James Scott is palpably meaningless.
Always a pleasure to talk to Mr. Howard Cosell. Now let's go back to George.
Pete Rozelle.
Miami Dolphins, first-round choice, David Overstreet, running back, Oklahoma. Next up, Kansas City Chiefs.
Take Marty McDowell. So, David Overstreet, and that was a bit of a surprise here in our telecast center. David Overstreet from running back. You say, nah, Howard Balzer, and define that, yeah. Please.
Nothing ever surprises me. The Dolphins were interested in Randy McMillan, but Overstreet, I think, is going to be an excellent pro. He didn't run that much at Oklahoma because of the way the offense is structured there, but he can block, he can catch, he can run, of course, and he's going to help the Dolphins.
Scott, tight end, South Carolina. Next up, Denver Broncos.
Absolutely.
Oh, okay, now with me is George Parker. He's an attorney here in New York. Now, we were speculating a little bit about Miami, but first let's get your reaction about Willie Scott. You nailed him before we went down to Rozelle.
He's the best tight end in the draft. A fine player, good all-around performer, and they've got a super premium player there.
Okay, now with the Miami situation, they did take a running back. That was a surprise. Why? You had some feelings about that.
Yes, but I read somewhere that Miami has a halfback who's had certain personal problems and wants to be traded or whatever, and that would account for the fact that Miami switched to a running back.
Smith, defensive back, USC. Next up, Detroit Lions.
The third University of Southern California athlete to be selected so far in this polling among the top 15. As Denver picks number 15, Dennis Smith, the defensive back out of USC. He was regarded as one of the top 3 defensive prospects, along with Ronnie Lott, who has already gone, and along with Ken Easley. All 3 of them from Los Angeles, incidentally. 1 from UCLA, 2 from USC. So Denver is pick number 15. We wait for the Detroit Lions.
Detroit Lions. Lions first round selection, Mark Nichols, wide receiver, San Jose State. Next up, Pittsburgh Steelers.
Mark Nichols, the wide receiver from San Jose State, regarded again as one of the premier wide receivers available in this draft. There were no less than a half dozen of them who were regarded quite highly. David Verser, Marty McDowell, Mark Nichols, as well as Kenny Marjoram from Stanford. Nichols at 6 foot, 209 pounds. Good size to 200 pounds, and that's a factor. So we are through 16 picks thus far in this first round of the National Football League 81 selection process.
Hank, of course, watching the NFL very closely, former coach. Hank, what's going on the other side now, the other end of these telephone lines, back in the front offices?
Well, Sam, all the heavy work has already been done during the off season, so everything is written down, everything is calculated very precisely, and you have a list of 100 people to begin with, and you, as people are picked, you cross off those names and put them on another board, and you keep abreast of what's happening and what's remaining, and you know who you want to get. You hope that you can get that particular individual. Sometimes right about the time you think you're going to get him, somebody picks right ahead of you. Then you've got to you must make a last-minute adjustment. But overall, the planning and the discipline and the overall format of getting ready for the draft is so well organized that really it isn't much of a problem.
Is it much of a scramble, though, when somebody picks someone that maybe you were going to draft or that you had your hopes set on, you thought you had a good shot at getting him, somebody picks ahead of you, do you then scramble?
Well, you have to be disciplined and prepared well enough to know that, he might be taken. So everybody that you have to say, well, we'll take him, but in the event that he's not available, we'll take him. So in the event that comes, you don't have that wild scramble.
For example, I'm sorry, Hank, for example, we saw St. Louis wait till the last second before making their pick.
Well, it might have been that they were talking to people about a trade or changing their draft picks or something of that nature. That doesn't necessarily mean that they didn't know who they wanted to get or wanted to take. It was just probably a combination of things that they were involved with at the time. But basically, it's got to be the either or thing, and usually the teams that draft well are in that position where they know precisely if he's taken, we're going to take this fella. If he isn't taken, we're going to take this one, and that's the way it has to work.
Thank you very much, Hank Stram. Now back to Sal.
Okay, there you have it. That was the commissioner, Pete Rozelle, and as Paul Zimmerman had indicated, Keith Gary, the defensive end from Barry Switzer's Oklahoma Sooners, is picked by the Steelers, number 17 in the first round. So Keith Gary, defensive end for Oklahoma, goes. Next up, Minnesota, Paul Zimmerman. We're waiting on Minnesota's pick. So far, we've had the running backs, the defensive backs, and the linebackers selected. How about the interior linemen?
There's a center named John Scully out of Notre Dame who gets the highest ratings from all the scouts. He's still available. Perhaps Minnesota might go with Scully. Scully succeeded Dave Huffman when he went to the Vikings, and they are projecting Scully perhaps as an offensive tackle. I want to ask our resident expert here, Paul Zimmerman, what do you think about that possibility?
I think tackles get drafted before centers. I think centers are a little too limited. It's easier to take a tackle and project him to center than a center and project him to tackle.
Why?
Because tackle has to be a better athlete. He's out in the wide open spaces where he has those rushing ends and there's more territory to cover. Has to be quicker feet and better player.
Although they say Scully is very good downfield.
Well, they got enough guys downfield.
Okay.
All right, let me interrupt just for a moment. That's Jan Van Duzer, the director of the overall draft today here in New York. They may very well be working on a trade at this very moment as Minnesota's pick is up, the number 18 selection. Jan has been on the phone with the folks there. He is walking across the room now. Let's see if we can piece this trade together. He's over talking with Don Weiss and Jim Heffernan now. They have a card, so they have either a trade and a selection or possibly just the beginning of a trade as it unfolds here. We are close to 2 hours into the draft. We have gone through 17 picks. This is Minnesota's selection number 18 in the draft thus far. Now he's going over with the commission. We should explain that as much as possible, they try to reflect and investigate each one of these movements as they occur. In other words, if there's a trade for a draft pick, say on the 4th or 5th round, they have work here that has to be done. In other words, they have to see if that pick is available. They have to see if it wasn't traded before. So they try to do that as much as possible so that they don't announce a pick and then maybe a day later or 2 days later they find out that they couldn't have made that selection. So it takes a little bit of time to do that. That's Jan Van Duzer's job, to make sure that that is done and done before the selection is announced. It is pretty obvious at this point that something is working as Jan Van Duzer and the clock runs down.
Minnesota Vikings. Vikings trade their first-round choice to the Baltimore Colts. Minnesota will receive Baltimore's second choice in this draft, which comes as the 11th pick in the second round. They will also receive from Baltimore a second-round pick that Baltimore had acquired from Washington by way of L.A., which is the 24th selection in the second round. So Baltimore trades its first-round choice, rather, Minnesota trades its first-round choice to Baltimore for the 2 seconds.
Brian Holloway.
Plus a fifth. There's a third choice involved. I'm sorry. The third choice that Minnesota received from Baltimore is Baltimore's 5th round choice, which is the 12th pick on the 5th round. So Minnesota received 2 seconds and a 5th for this first round choice of Minnesota's. Baltimore, on Minnesota's selection in the first round, Colts take Durnell Thompson, defensive tackle, University of North Carolina.
Okay, there you have it. The commissioner announcing it again to reiterate. Jan Van Duzer sitting there with the commissioner, making sure that it is
Next
verified.
team selecting in the first round.
That is Donnell Thompson for Baltimore. The Colts take Donnell Thompson, and that in the trade, Minnesota trades 3 picks all told, 2 second-round picks and a 5th-round pick. They pick up from Baltimore. The Colts will select Donnell Thompson as the 18th player on this, the first round. The New England Patriots are up next. The defensive tackle from North Carolina, Donnell Thompson, selected by the Baltimore Colts on this, the first round. We'll be back with more of ESPN's live and exclusive coverage of the 1981
New England Patriots. Patriots first round selection, Brian Holloway, tackle, Stanford. Next up, Washington Redskins on the choice exchange with the Rams.
What's it like in your household coming up to the draft?
I would say it's probably a little confusing because 9 times out of 10 we have a lot of people in the neighborhood are calling and saying who's going to be the first round pick and so on and so forth. And I think this year particularly with the Giants having the 2nd pick and the Jets having the 3rd pick, you know, people are interested and they think, of course, we've got all the answers. They're all...
Okay, in case you missed that one, in case you missed the tail end of it, Pete Rozelle was making the selection. The Washington selection, they took Mark May, the offensive tackle from Pittsburgh. So 2 offensive linemen back-to-back. It was expected that the likes of Holloway and May would go pretty fast, and as it stands now, 3 offensive linemen have been taken. Holloway to New England on 19, and the most recent Washington picks in the 20th slot, Mark May, the tackle from Pittsburgh. Bob, I know that you folks up there have been been looking at this. I know in particular Howard Balzer liked both Holloway and May coming into this draft.
Not only did he like Holloway and May coming into the draft, but just before the Patriots made their selection, not to put on our 20/20 hindsight, but you were explaining the logic prior to the selection why the Pats would make such a move.
Well, they made that trade a couple of years ago when they traded Leon Gray to Houston, and they had plugged in Dwight Wheeler as the offensive tackle, and he really hasn't performed up to those great expectations. So when a lot of the players have been gone that maybe New England would have liked, it was a logical thing for them to take one of those top offensive tackles, and they chose Holloway, and Washington coming up next. I had them taking Holloway if he was still there, so they just went for Mark May, who I thought might have gone earlier, but of course, as we know, they're always a gamble. But Leonard Mitchell is still sitting there.
Thanks, Chris and Frank. 5 minutes and counting as Pete Rozelle prepares to go to the podium for the selection from the Oakland Raiders.
Oakland Raiders. Oakland, on the choice acquired from Houston, selects Ted Watts, defensive back, Texas Tech. Next up, Cleveland Browns.
It gives us a lot of youth in our defensive backfield, which is something that has become one of our strongest points and one of our strongest assets in winning. We've always had outstanding corners, and we don't see any reason to stop now, so we're very pleased with the selection.
Tom, was there anybody that you wanted before Watts that wasn't available to you?
Well, there's a lot of them that we wanted, because fortunately we have 2 number 1s, but we just there's always some that you would like. But we're very pleased because he was the first corner on the board that we wanted.
So the Oakland Raiders, as you just heard from Tom Flores, has taken Ted Watts, who is a cornerback. He comes out of Texas Tech. He's 6'1", has good speed and good size. He's going to give the Raiders lots of depth there. And they already have depth in the defensive secondary, as you saw with the Super Bowl victory over the Philadelphia Eagles. So that's it. The Oakland Raiders picking number 21 in the first round. They'll have another pick, number 28, which will be the first time in Raider history that they've ever had 2 picks in the first round.
Cleveland Browns, first round choice, Hanford Dixon, defensive back, Southern Mississippi. Next up, Buffalo Bills.
There you have it.
First round selection. Buffalo swaps first round picks with Oakland, so that Oakland would pick on the 23rd spot on the first round. Buffalo would pick in the 28th spot. Plus, Buffalo will acquire Oakland's 3rd round selection in this draft. On Buffalo's choice, after the trade, Curtis Marsh, tackle, Washington.
I get a win on that.
Next up, San Diego Chargers.
Curtis Marsh, the tackle from Washington, regarded as a fine overall prospect, fine specimen, Paul Zimmerman. Waiting for the San Diego pick. Here's the
San Diego Chargers. Chargers first round selection, James Brooks, running back, Auburn. Next up, Atlanta Falcons. Select on the first round, Bobby Butler, defensive back, Florida State.
Defensive
Next pick,
back,
Dallas Cowboys.
number 6 in the first round of the draft, Bobby Butler.
Has selected Bobby Butler, the defensive back from Florida State. Dallas going for Howard Richards, the offensive tackle out of Missouri. Now,
Philadelphia selection.
Philadelphia Eagles, first round choice. The Eagles take Leonard Mitchell, defensive end, Houston. Next up, Buffalo in the Oakland spot, acquired after the swap of draft. Next up, Buffalo, last pick, first round.
thank you very much, George. Part of that company, Paul McGuire, and the Bills finally have traded down 28 to go for the running back, and a slight one he is, Booker.